Welcome to the Marigold Consult Business Template Demo. Do you run a business that you struggle to track your business expenses? And do you keep your records in a notebook or on pieces of papers that you struggle to actually organize them or even track how much you have spent and what you spent on? This template has been developed for you to run that business of yours that you'll be able to see what you have actually spent and your cash balances. Of course, you can also use it for your whole business operations in terms of what you buy. And so I'm going to walk you through this template that has three sheets. The first sheet contains the expense elements. And these are some few expenses that we have captured for you. You have the liberty to add more expenses to the list here. Now, having updated this list, either you remove some or you add on more, you come to the petty cash entries sheet where you would start recording your business expenses. You also have the report sheet, which contains all the information here that you can also pivot them in the form of a report, which I'm going to walk you through shortly. Let's come back to the petty cash entries sheet. Having updated all your expenses here, come to the petty cash entry sheet and now begin to record your expenses. The essence of this is to keep track of all your expenses and amount of money you have also spent. Let's start from the first section. So we'll leave the balance brought forward section and then we'll go straight to the first entry. So we assume that on the 1st of January 2021, you had your first withdrawal. And before I continue, let me quickly walk you through the columns also. So column D will contain your date of the expenses. The document number is the numbers of the document you generate, either the receipt you get when you make payment, or if you have a petty cash voucher or a payment voucher which has numbers, you can also indicate the numbers here so you can reference them anytime that you want. You have your description here. Now you have your expense element. And remember, with the expense element section, you can only select one of these expenses. And these are the expenses that you have captured on the expense element sheet. If the expenses is not here, you cannot select it here. Neither can you also type in directly. For example, here you realize that you don't have, let's say, I don't see rent, all right? If you want to type rent directly, the system will not accept it because it is not captured in the expense element sheet. I'll cancel that. It means that you have to go back to update the sheet and add your expenses that you want to capture, for example, the rent. Okay, I'll come back to that. Now, the debit section will contain all monies that come in. Either you withdraw them from the bank or your personal money that you put at the disposal of the business that you spend. And so you record all the inflows at the debit section, whilst your expenses will also be captured in the credit section. And then your balances will be calculated automatically for you. Again, for the monthly totals, you don't have to worry yourself. They will also be consolidated automatically for you. Let's start with the first expenses now. Let's say on the 1st of January 2021, we withdrew money, all right? So we have our check number captured, then withdrawal from the bank. Okay, so let's go there and see if we have, okay, so we have bank withdrawal. Then we put it at the debit. We assume we withdrew 1,000 cedis. And so immediately that will be calculated and captured here for us. Let's start spending this money on the same 1st of January 21. Let's say we have our document number. Then let's say we bought drinking water. So if we come to the expense element, we should see water. Okay, there's water here. So select that and then you can put in the expenses. Let's say 100. So the balance left is 900. We can continue to spend. Let's see on the 2nd of January 21, we made another expenses. Let's say we paid electricity for the month of December. So we should see electricity here. Other than that, we'll go back to update our expenses. Okay, here is it. Electricity, let's say we paid 500. So our money left is 400. Now on the 3rd of January 21, we made another expenses with this document number. Let's say we did some cleaning exercise, cleaning of store. We should see cleaning or sanitation here. If not, we'll go back to update, cleaning and sanitation. So let's say we did 50. Now let's move on to the month of February. All right, so 1st of February 21, we have our document number. Okay, so we bought fuel. So when we come here, we should see fuel. Okay, then we can type in 200. We have only 150 left. Therefore, we can say, okay, we want to go and withdraw some more cash. So on the same 1st of February 21, let's say check number, then withdrawal from the bank. Then we can select withdrawal from the bank. Let's say we withdrew 2,000 this time around. It will be added to our balance. We have 2,150. Let's say on the 3rd of February, we have our document number. We bought drinking water again. And you see that the moment I start typing, what I had already typed is popping up. You can go ahead and accept it by just using your tab key, or you enter, it will be accepted. You can also go back, select it and click inside your formula bar and then edit what you have. So let's say this time we're buying the drinking water 2 packs. So select water. Now we'll say 200. And so you realize that we are entering all our expenses as and when we make them. All right, I'll enter 1 or 2 more. Let's see on the 4th of February 21. We have our document number. Now let's say we are doing rent advance. Okay, so when we come here, we should see rent. Remember, we checked and we didn't have rent here. And we cannot also type in here. So what we have to do is to go back to the expense element and go and enter the rent. Other than that, when we try to type it, it will be rejected. So let's go back now and enter rent. Okay, now when we come back here, we should be able to see rent. Select it and then you pay your rent advance. We assume we are paying 1,500. Let's do one entry and then we'll be good. So let's say on the 5th of February 21, you keep your document number, and then let's say this time we are paying for transport. Okay, so we should see transport here. Okay, transport is there. Now we're doing 400. So you have only 50 cedis left. You can go withdraw money, come and add it. So you can see all the expenses you are making as far as your business is concerned. And here you see the monthly total. So in January, you had so much coming in, you spent so much. This was the balance, it was carried forward. You brought in 2,000, you spent 2,300. And as at the end of February, you have the balance of 50 cedis outstanding for you to spend. And that is the same amount that is also showing here. And you can continue to enter a lot of expenses. Now, this is a very broad sheet. Let's check the number of rows you have. You see, you have about 4,000 rows. And so this template can be used for a week, a month, or a whole year, depending on the number of transactions you actually generate within the period. All right, so let's scroll up and I'll show you some few things. Now, having recorded these expenses, let's see how the report section looks like. Now, with the report, this is a very simple pivot table report. Remember, pivot table is one of the powerful tools ever developed in Microsoft Excel. Here, we want to use pivot table in a very simple way to show you how you can generate some simple reports for your expenses. Let's go back to the petty cash entries again. Now, observe what I've entered here. I've entered expense elements with these amounts, and I've also made some withdrawals with these amounts. Let's assume that we want to see the total amount per each expense element. So we go back to the report, just click inside anywhere in the report, and you would have the pivot table fields. These are the headings for your petty cash entries. These headings are what you see in the report. So you have your month, date, document number, description, the expense element, debit and credit. That is the same thing you see here. Now, let's say we want to see the total per expense element. So if you want to see the total, just click and hold the expense element and drag it to the row section. And you see that all your expense element that you have entered in this particular sheet here, all of them will appear at this section. All right. Now, let's go back. What do we want to see? We want to see all total credits. And with the credits, you grab it and drop it in the values. That is the column that contains values. And immediately you will see the total amount per each of the expense element. If you want to see it further with a breakdown, let's say on monthly basis, scroll up and you will see month. You can drop the month at the top section, which is the column, and you see that you would have it break down on monthly basis. So cleaning and sanitation, you spend 50 cedis in the month of January. Let me expand slightly. Okay. Now electricity 500, water you did 100 in January and 200 in February, making 300. The blanks are the blank entries in your sheet. All right, so just ignore that. Now rent, you've made 1,500, fuel, and then transport in that order. You realize that you don't have anything for the bank withdrawals. The reason is that the bank withdrawals appeared under the debit section of your entries. They are here, all right? But here, I did not select the debit. I only selected credit. So we can click, hold, and drag the credit back and then bring the debit. And you see that you have them for January 1,000, February 2,000, making 3,000. When you go here, you see you have 1,000, 2,000, making 3,000. And so that is a very simple pivot report. You can design a pivot report in a different way. And like I told you, this is a very simple pivot report. If you want to receive full training on pivot table, I'll encourage you to sign on to our intermediate Excel video course, and you'll be amazed what you can learn about pivot table. On that note, I want to leave you here. I'll encourage you to adopt this template, sign on and subscribe, and then also subscribe to other templates that we have to run your business so you can capture the right information and manage your business well. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.